This is BBC One. Now, see here.
For our summer chat show, we've come to Swansea, in South Wales. We're the guests of the Church of the Holy Name Mission to the Deaf, based here just a mile from the heart of Swansea. I'm going to take a look inside. The Swansea deaf community has a fascinating history. At the turn of the century, deaf people worshipped in a hearing church with no interpreter. But they always wanted a place of their own. So, for many years, they met in each other's houses for worship. Until finally, this building was bought in 1937. And the Swansea deaf community have been meeting here ever since. Hello.
Hello.
Nice to meet you both.
And you too.
Good. Now these two ladies live here in Swansea, and we're keeping it in the family because we have Connie Powell, who's been involved with the mission since its very early days, and her daughter-in-law, Deborah, who will also be telling us a little bit more. Hello, Connie.
Hello.
Now I know that your husband was a lay reader here at the mission,
Yes.
and he didn't speak it, obviously he signed it. What are your memories of the mission in its early days? What was it like? What was the Swansea deaf community like then?
Well, first of all, he worked on the docks, but he knew the scriptures very well because he came here so regularly. Anyway, the minister, Mr. Robinson, asked if he'd like to be a lay reader, and so he agreed, along with another deaf chap called Gordon McMurray. They did their training together and passed their exams. After which the bishop came and blessed them. And after 1 week, he was told he signed the scriptures very well. So he then did the Lord's Prayer.
That's lovely. And what are the main responsibilities of a lay reader?
He did the Lord's Prayer, the Creed, and sermons. He did help in teaching other laymen. When Mr. Robinson went away for 6 weeks, he was a chaplain in the army and was awarded the MBE medal. That's when my husband conducted the full services.
I see. And deaf people used to sit here in this very church 40 or 30 years ago, and they used to congregate here. And your husband, the lay reader, used to give his readings to the congregation. How did that make deaf people feel?
The church was full to the brim then, and everyone watched intently. It was magical.
Did a lot of people come? How many?
Absolutely loads of people came, especially at harvest time, when it was an occasion like that. It was absolutely packed, and it was signed in detail.
I notice you use a lot of finger spelling.
Yes, I do.
And one-handed finger spelling too?
Yes, one-handed too.
What about signing?
Just a few signs, very few though.
Oh, well, they do sign for the youngsters, really.
Yes, we'd help them by signing.
I see. So how do you feel about the attitudes changing now? There are less people at the Sunday service. Do you feel disappointed because of it?
Oh yes, it's terribly disappointing, yes.
How do you feel, Deborah? Do you think it's better now that the attitudes have changed?
Well, this church isn't my religion,
Why?
because I'm Roman Catholic.
You're Roman Catholic, so you don't come to this church.
No, Roman Catholic's the best.
Do you think they're the best?
She's a different religion. It's no good me objecting.
No, mine's best.
I think they're both equal, aren't they?
They are equal, especially when we have special services. Deborah will come here for Maundy or Harvest. She'll come with us, which is so good.
She shouldn't be allowed.
Yes, I am allowed. It's all the same God. I'd help out.
She helps with the youngsters. In fact, I'm half Roman Catholic from my mother's side as well.
So you're the secretary, Deborah, am I right?
Yes. Well, not at the moment, no. I'm the house steward. Now, what that means is we have a committee. There's a chairman, a secretary, and a steward who helps out. I mean, if things are too much for people, then I'll help out.
So how do you feel about the club now compared to its mission days? Do you feel it's different?
Well, the mission is so old-fashioned. The way they dressed and just sat there. Times have changed now and the atmosphere is totally different. We do things more our own way now because we have a right to. I mean, in Connie's day, well, they did as they were told. They had to. So things have changed, as they do with time.
And what about the member turnout? What's that like?
Oh, every Thursday's packed solid, full of youngsters.
And where do they come from?
Well, most of them from Swansea. We get some from Neath, and I come all the way from Port Talbot. I mean, I come here to Swansea.
Right. Interesting. So now, I believe you have a job. What do you do?
Yes, I work as a qualified hairdresser.
How's my hair looking? Nice?
It's not bad.
You can improve it, can you?
Yeah, if you dyed it black, it might look better.
And why is that? What's wrong with my colour?
Looks great. Suits your face and age.
Thank you, Connie. She thinks it's right. See? Now, why do you think I have to dye it darker?
Well, I mean, it's so popular now. Everybody's having dark hair.
So what exactly do you do as a hairdresser?
Well, I'm a qualified hairdresser and a beautician.
What's that?
Beautician.
What, manicure,
Do
powder
that.
the face, that kind of thing? I need some. I've got wrinkles all over my face.
And there's also sugaring I do, which is waxing of the legs.
Ugh.
Oh, come on, Clive. It's not that bad. It doesn't hurt.
So, as I've been at the Deaf Club, I've had lots of stories about the history. But what about the future? Do you have any plans drawn up or ideas for changes and improvements?
Well, times have obviously changed. But I think really this club is so out of the way. And it's up on a hill, right? You have to catch a bus to get here. And it really is a long way to come. We actually want to move. In fact, we're trying to do that now, but I don't know when it's going to happen. Obviously, it's going to take a long time, starting from here and moving away. It's a big job. But I'm hopeful, yes.
So if you do move, will there still be a church there as well?
Oh, yes. And we have to give the older people the church. I mean, obviously, we've got to give them something as well. We can't just think about the youngsters and their social life. We must provide for them as well. Happy now?
Yes.
Good. Well, thank you both. I've really enjoyed having our chat. It's been marvellous. Thank you. Well, this is a chat show with a difference, as my other guests are waiting for me down the road. Why? Because so many members of the Swansea Deaf Club wanted to attend the show, and we couldn't squeeze them all safely into the mission. It would have been a hazard. So, the rest of the programme is now going to be recorded down the road at Finoni House School. Hello.
Hello?
Well, you're all chatting away, obviously very good friends.
Yes.
I might have guessed it being such a small community here. You don't want if I interrupt
Oh,
and
hang
drag
on,
Richard
we
away?
haven't finished
I haven't
talking
finished
yet.
talking yet. Sorry about this.
Sit yourself there.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome Richard Jones, the BDA's newly appointed Community Service Officer for Wales. Hello, Richard.
Thank you. Now, that was a real Welsh welcome. Perfect.
Oh, really? Oh, good. Welsh welcome. Anyway,
now,
Richard.
Debbie there.
Hold on a second. I was about to ask you a question.
Well, she's a friend of mine.
All right, then, go ahead.
You see, Deborah here, I know her so well. I let her cut my hair regularly. I let her do that. And Connie changed my nappy. So we all know each other pretty well.
Oh, I see. So it's passed down the family, keeping it in the family, are we? I see, okay. Now, Richard, your father lived here in Swansea.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you have any great memories of your childhood here in Swansea?
Oh, yes. Swansea City football, out on the streets playing, stories being told. My parents are both deaf, so storytelling was part of it. I grew up in one culture. Some say they're born into two cultures, but all my family are deaf. There are no hearing members in my family at all. My mother's brother lives just 12 miles away from us, and he's deaf too, so we all sign. It's just the one culture.
Now, there is a distinct difference between the language of North and South Wales. Is that true of sign language as well? There's a difference between the North and the South?
Well, there is some evidence, and it's been debated all over Wales. It depends on which school people went to. People from North Wales were schooled in Manchester, and those from the South went to Llanwrtyd Wells or Penarth. So the signing influence depends on the school they went to. But in Wales, there's just a variation of BSL used with not Welsh language, but a variety of BSL used in Wales.
Since I've been here in Swansea, I've met some of the older deaf people here who use fingerspelling predominantly.
Yeah, it's the same all over. I've been to Scotland, where there is a lot of fingerspelling, which is English-based, and here it's the same. But now culture and attitudes have changed. BSL has a stronger influence and signing has taken precedence, whereas the older generation still has a lot of English and fingerspell.
That's interesting. And what about yourself? Did you grow up fingerspelling?
Well, before I can answer that, if you're having some difficulty understanding my Welsh Sign Language variety, please stop me and I'll repeat myself.
Okay, I'm stopping you now.
But you seem to be understanding me okay.
I'm stopping you now.
You've been paying attention.
I've missed
Do you
everything
want me to
you've
repeat
said.
it all?
I'm only joking, only joking. Okay. So where do you live now? In Swansea?
No, in Cardiff. I was born in Swansea, moved to Plymouth about 9 years ago because of the job I had, and my first wife was there. That's where we met and married. And then, when I was appointed as Community Services Officer here for the BDA, I was delighted to be back in the land of my fathers, back home in Wales. That's right, applaud. I was so pleased to be back, which meant that I'd be based here in Cardiff. And when I first got this job, I moved to be near my father, and now I'm still here living in Cardiff.
So as Community Services Officer for Wales, what does your job entail exactly? Sweeping the streets, cleaning, what exactly?
Ooh, that's too high grade for me. My job's lower than that. No, really. Well, I work within the deaf community, focusing on information that's needed. That's one part of what I do.
Hold on, when you talk about information, can you give us an example?
I'll do that later. Now, one of the main areas to look at are health issues. Primary health care, for example. What is primary health care? It's my job to make people aware of it and what it means. People can be confused, but it's basically your first point of contact. For example, when you're ill, you open the door and the first person you meet is the GP, the dentist, or the optician. I pass on that kind of information. I'm not just a mediator. I set up groups within the deaf community who will send representatives to meet with their local health authority and discuss issues. The deaf community might need some training, or some might be confident enough in what they know already, and the deaf groups will try and discuss and influence the health authority into understanding what kind of services they want. It could be just a visual display to say, it's our turn.
There seems to have been quite a few problems, which is why so many posts have been needed to increase awareness.
Well, now that we have the Community Care Act 1990, the National Health Act, and what's called statementing, it means that the local health authority must listen to the views of the public. Prior to the Act, the authorities would go ahead with their plans or decisions without consulting with the public, did what they thought was best, but now they have to listen to the public. The Act's been put into practice so that disabled people and others are asked to consult with the social services, the health authorities, and tell them what they'd like. But in the meantime, deaf people have been forgotten because deaf people aren't aware of the issues. So the BDA have pointed out to the Welsh office the need to educate and consult with the deaf community.
Right. Do you feel that, or would you like deaf people from Cardiff, Swansea and the north to give you advice or feedback? What kind of advice would you like from them?
Well, I've travelled around a fair bit and seen that people welcome me with open arms.
What, embrace you?
Well, I don't know. Maybe. I'm a Welshman. But a lot of people feel it's about time this BDA post has been set up in Wales, and it was so desperately needed. So people's first reaction's been positive. And then, when some issues are explained to them, they realise that they haven't been aware of them, and realise that I am only one man campaigning on their behalf, a bit like a ranger.
Right.
So now it's set up, I can watch the battle take place. It's about influencing bodies, particularly the social services, to get what they want.
Right, Richard. Do you have a crystal ball at home? You look into it, the mist clears, and the future emerges from it. The future of the Welsh deaf community, their destiny. Do you have the answers there?
Well, I do have a bowl at home, and when I looked inside, all I could see were goldfish.
What, deaf goldfish? Signing, were they?
Yes, they sang with their fins, right? Now, the future of the Welsh community. Well, the BDA Area Council wants to become stronger and have more pulling power. So, we're starting by setting up workshops and activities. In the past, there were just rallies every year. So yes, more initiative, more acceptance of our own responsibilities, and take on activities. The North's doing well, but needs to work in conjunction with the South. And it's the same in England with a multitude of regions. In Wales, people think it's small enough for people to work in a single unit, but it's not really. There are two main regions, geographically, attitudinally. There's even a different written language between North and South Wales. Did you know that? Colwyn Bay. In Cardiff, it's written B-A-E, both meaning bay, but written differently in the North and the South. People are different too.
Well, it's been fascinating chatting with you. Thank you, Richard Jones.
Thank you.
Okay, my last guest today also has connections with Swansea, and I'm sure, like Richard, will be known to members of the community. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome Mr. Cedric Moon. Hello. Hello. Do you know each other?
Yes, I think I've seen you before.
Now, Cedric, you live in Cardiff, is that right? But you've been coming here to Swansea for many years. What is your connection with Swansea?
Well, I was born in Swansea, and my family are from Swansea.
Right, so what have you been doing here in Swansea?
Well, I joined Swansea Deaf Club a long time ago. I've been a member for years, and I've moved around and ended up in Cardiff.
Do you remember, I mean, you were born in Swansea. You must remember the mission Swansea Deaf Club. Have you seen a lot of changes over the years?
Well, I think Swansea Deaf Club, or mission, has remained the same for a long time. A lot of deaf people go there, and now a lot of younger people go there, which is quite good.
I believe you were involved in the Welsh branch of the Deaf Broadcasting Council and campaigned on issues for Wales. Can you tell us about that and what happened?
We felt the Welsh broadcasters weren't aware of the needs of the deaf community. And it was 6 or 7 years ago when I spoke to Jonathan Bosman and came up with the idea of setting up a Welsh branch of the DBC. We asked if other deaf people were interested in joining it. They were. When we formed a committee, organised demonstrations. For example, Andrea and Deborah over there helped us with the campaign in Cardiff.
So what's happening now?
Well, the problems are far from being resolved. For example, S4C transmit programs in Welsh, which are translated into English subtitles. But the English is of a hearing quality and not deaf quality, so that background sounds are not subtitled, and that's not good enough for deaf people. So we are campaigning to S4C to be aware of the specific needs of the deaf. S4C are making changes slowly, but it's still a problem area.
So why did you resign from the Welsh Deaf Broadcasting Council?
Well, I was secretary of the Cardiff Hearing Impaired Support Group and also of the DBC, and there was a lot of work to be done with the support group, and I couldn't do both, so I had to resign from the DBC. I thought it would be an easier task for someone to replace me, but no one came for the post.
Nobody at all, but it is voluntary.
It is voluntary.
And it's not a work.
A lot of work.
And with voluntary work, you need motivation. You've got to take the initiative. You can't wait to be asked or ask someone else to do it for you. You've got to want to do it. So my praise go to you, Cedric. Keep it up, keep it up.
Oh, that's great. So Cedric, you were talking about the lack of campaigning within the Welsh community. How would you encourage people to become more aware?
Well, the work that Richard is doing now is very important. He visits deaf clubs, he finds out what the problems are, and he explains how to campaign. The Welsh deaf community focuses a great deal of attention on sport, which is good in itself, but they forget the important issues as well.
That's made me think, in Wales, do deaf people want to go back and learn Welsh written language because of the work of S4C and the dramas that have been transmitted in Welsh? Wales has had an incredible history. The Welsh language was threatened with extinction, and because of wide campaigns, it's there now. As I'm driving in my car, you see all the signposts in 2 languages. It's wonderful, in English and Welsh. I think the revival of Welsh culture is fantastic. But do you think that may influence deaf people and they may want to go back and learn Welsh language?
Well, you may be surprised to learn that the structure and grammar of the Welsh language is almost identical to BSL structure. So that in Welsh, they say literally, ball, cat, jumped. The word order's changed.
So do some finger spelling then.
And it's not just words, it's the structure as well.
Can you finger spell in Welsh?
Croeso I Cymru. Welcome
What's
to
that?
Wales.
All right, do it again. Let me try.
C R
C-R-O-E-S.
O E S O I C Y M R U.
Are you? Okay, I think I've just said welcome to Wales. Great, Ian. Pat on the head for me. Thank you, Cedric. A big thank you to all four of our guests, Connie and Deborah Powell, thank you very much, Richard and Cedric for joining us today. It's been great chatting with them all. And a very big thank you to Swansea Deaf Club for making us feel so welcome here today. Unfortunately, time has run out, but we will be back at the beginning of July to Swansea Deaf Club for a debate. Bye then, and thank you.